Do you believe that a country can plant 5 million trees in just 60 minutes? Not China, not the United States, but Burkina Faso, a country in the heart of West Africa, once labeled as the land of aridity and erosion. In June 2025, under the leadership of President IBRAHIM Traoré, this country did something the world could not believe. More than 5 million trees were planted in just 1 hour. There was no massive media campaign, no international aid fund behind it, just faith, national pride, and an unbreakable collective will. What is the real reason? Why has an environmental campaign become a political symbol? And why does it make global financial powers feel uneasy? Come with us to the next part, where the truth is revealed through numbers and actions. On June 21st, 2025, at exactly 10:00 a.m., an announcement was made from the office of the President of Burkina Faso. In 60 minutes, more than 5,027,000 trees were planted in 45 provinces across the country. The campaign is part of the annual National Tree Planting Day event, organized by the late President Thomas Sankara, now restored and expanded in scale and significance by IBRAHIM Traoré. In the capital, Ouagadougou, President Traoré personally participated in planting medicinal plants with students, university students, and religious organizations. Meanwhile, in the northern desert regions, people, the army, youth volunteers, and even the elderly also took action, turning this event into a rare symbol of national unity. In just 1 hour, Burkina Faso did not just plant trees, they replanted faith in the land and in themselves. If your country had only 1 hour to prove its worth, what would you do? Next, we will delve into the why. Why would they do such a crazy thing? To understand why Burkina Faso is so determined to plant 1 million trees an hour, we must look back at the country's painful history, not with guns, but with the slow death of the land. More than 40% of Burkina Faso lies in the desertification belt, especially in the northern region, where once fertile grazing lands are now reduced to dry sand and rock. The people call it dead land. Every year, thousands of hectares of arable land disappear under the hunger of hot winds and climate change. Poverty, migration, land conflicts all start from the same root. There is nothing left to cultivate, to live, to believe in. As far back as the 1980s, the late President Thomas Sankara warned, "If we do not replant the land will bury us." But that promise was forgotten after his death. Successive presidents focused on financial stability and aid policies, rather than investing in the land where all life begins, until IBRAHIM Traoré took office. When asked why he chose trees as the centerpiece of his policy, Traoré didn't talk about the environment first. He talked about dignity. No one can hold their head high with empty hands and no ground to hold on to. If you've ever seen a field turn into a desert after just a few dry seasons, you'll understand why they did this. IBRAHIM Traoré does not see trees as just an environmental policy. He sees them as a means of rebuilding the nation's soul. In many villages, tree planting is a religious ritual. Before digging a hole, people pray. When they lay the tree, they whisper the names of their deceased relatives. An elderly mother in Kosi province said, "This tree is for my unborn grandchild. He will grow up with it." The tree planting campaign on 21st June 2025 is not the first, but the culmination of a movement that began in 2023, when Traoré ordered that every school must have at least one garden tended by the students themselves. At first, it was considered propaganda, but gradually garden after garden grew, not in reports, but in the memories of children. Each tree was not chosen randomly. Most of them are indigenous medicinal plants with healing and soil-restoring properties. Moringa, neem, baobab. Not only do they help combat erosion, they are also linked to traditional African medicine, something Traoré wants to restore as part of his national identity. So when he says planting 5 million trees in 1 hour, it's not just a number. It's a message, a collective action, and a declaration to the world. Burkina Faso isn't waiting for someone to save them. They're choosing to replant themselves from the roots. In many countries, environmental regeneration is a policy on paper. But in Burkina Faso, under Traoré, it's become a way of life, passed down through generations. Every child in first grade is taught how to plant a seedling, not as a secondary subject, but as part of a civic ethic. If you take care of the land, you will take care of people. From schools, the movement spread to churches, shrines, and mosques. Religious leaders called on their followers to plant trees as an act of faith. In the prayer ceremonies, people not only pray for rain, but also pray for each seed to take root. The foreign press described this campaign not as a simple tree planting, but as a spiritual revival, where people ask themselves, where can we build paradise, if not on the land our ancestors left behind? If you were a witness to the world turning its back on your land, would you choose to lament or start planting branches of hope again? At exactly 9 a.m. on June 21st, 2025, the siren sounded from the national radio. In the main squares, churches, schools, and military barracks, people stood up, ready with shovels, hoes, and saplings in hand. No one was left out. In Sum province, one of the areas most affected by desertification, soldiers dug holes while children ran to supply water to the trees. A military doctor gave vaccinations and planted medicinal plants right in front of the health station. Monks, priests, imams, students, and villagers all participated, not out of obligation, but voluntarily. The campaign was coordinated through a system of community tree planting stations set up in 2023. Each station had an eco-leader, usually a teacher, village chief, or nurse. They were trained in tree planting techniques, and more importantly, how to inspire. The magic lies in the fact that each tree planted is not a scattered action, but part of a greening map of the country. The Ministry of Environment uses satellite technology, digital maps combined with the Green Map Phaso application to track each sprout after the day of planting. No one would think that a country with a lack of budget and advanced technology could coordinate such a nationwide campaign. If your hometown is arid and you only have 1 hour to sow hope, where would you start? Soon after the campaign ended, images from Burkina Faso flooded regional social media platforms. From Mali to Ghana to Senegal, people reposted the tree planting as a new symbol of Africa, healing itself without waiting for the world to save it. One video went viral. A child around the age of 5 placing a seedling in the ground, then bowing his head and clasping his hands in prayer. The clip was only 10 seconds long, but received millions of shares on platforms across West Africa. The top comment read, "We used to think freedom came from politics, but sometimes it comes from how we cherish a small tree." Less than a week later, groups of Nigerian and Côte d'Ivoire students organized 1-hour green campaigns at universities, emulating the Burkina Faso model. Community leaders began discussing the application of the self-managed medicinal plant plan to local health policy. The Burkina Faso government has not made any official announcements about the spread. Instead, they let their actions speak for themselves. A Traoré advisor told a foreign reporter, "When you plant trees for your own children, you don't need a media campaign. The trees will speak for themselves." After the campaign, many schools began to incorporate Eco Hour into their timetable, where students not only learn about biology, but also take care of the trees they planted when they were young. A teacher in Boulgou province shared, "They are no longer just learning about grades. They are learning how to be guardians of the earth." More than 200 local communities have signed up to participate in the Village Garden Keepers model, a program that empowers people to manage communal medicinal plant gardens, selling products such as tea, essential oils, and herbal medicines to health centers. Many families have for the first time earned income from land that was once considered useless. The program has also had a profound impact on the awareness of young people. A post-campaign survey found that 78% of young people felt more responsible for their environmental future, double the number from the previous year. For a country that has long been underrated for its sense of community, this shift is not just about the environment, it's about the foundations of a new civilization. If you had an idea powerful enough to spread without advertising, what would you do with it? But like all great things, this event also made some forces uneasy. And then an unexpected turn of events happened. In the history of modern West Africa, no unarmed initiative has spread as quickly and deeply as Burkina Faso's 5 million trees campaign. The point is, this spread did not come from the government, but from the people. A wave of inspiration did not need slogans, no posters, just action. In Niger, which had just escaped direct French influence, student organizations proactively asked the government for permission to reenact the Burkina Tree Hour. On social media, the hashtag #GreenSahel became a new symbol of solidarity. One student wrote, "We said no to weapons, no to aid. Now let's say yes to hope and roots." The Sahel community began to question development strategy. If a country without as many resources as Nigeria, not as rich as Ghana, not as stable as Senegal, could still carry out a large-scale campaign, why couldn't other countries? Several provinces in Mali and Guinea have signed memoranda of understanding with the Burkina Faso Ministry of Environment to share their experiences in community-scale medicinal plant cultivation. A mayor in Mopti, Mali, said on television, "We used to think that only countries funded by the West could do big things. Not anymore." From a symbolic act, Burkina Faso is gradually becoming a regional hub for ecological knowledge transfer. Many experts call it West Africa's first transnational green strategy, in which people's empowerment is at the core, rather than relying on NGOs or humanitarian aid. If one small country can inspire the whole continent with one action, how much more do you think can be done if we start together? While West Africa is enthusiastic about the greening campaign, a different and quieter response has come from international organizations. Although not openly critical, internal reports from the European Union's development agencies, USAID, and several major financial institutions have begun to put Burkina Faso on watch lists. The reason? The overshooting of its development strategy without a standard orientation. A researcher in Brussels once wrote, "When African countries write their own plans, build their own solutions, and implement them without going through development partners, the international financial ecosystem has no role to play." Although unofficial, mainstream media in Europe have begun to describe Burkina Faso's tree planting campaign with phrases like propaganda, unrealistic, or hard to assess long-term effectiveness. But on the ground, people are seeing results every day. Some analysts at the Environmental Policy Institute in London have warned that if African countries liberalize local initiatives, as Burkina Faso is doing, the global aid chain could face a credibility crisis. That is, if Africans see the results themselves, they will gradually become less dependent on donor organizations and aid budgets. However, that opens up a bigger question. Is this the real path to liberation? Not through political struggles, but through concrete actions, such as planting trees, curing diseases from grassroots, and self-sufficiency using indigenous wisdom. Many African scholars liken Traoré's model to a school without a blackboard, where everyone is a student and nature is the textbook. That quiet but profound shift makes many developed countries wary. Because if independence starts with the land and trees, then no one can control it anymore. An independent report from a non-profit environmental organization in Ghana found that soil moisture levels in areas with medicinal plants increased by 18% in just 4 months. Another result from the Ministry of Health of Burkina Faso revealed that more than 50% of rural health stations were using herbal medicines instead of imported drugs, saving millions of CFA francs each year. IBRAHIM Traoré's vision, though unspoken, was clear. Instead of chasing aid to buy Western medicine, grow your own medicinal plants. Instead of exporting resources, grow sustainable value. Analysts call it eco-self-reliance, a new development theory that many Western countries find difficult to accept because it does not need them. If you can cure yourself, protect your land, and feed your people, who else do you need? But then, amid the successes, something unexpected happened, an event that nearly derailed the entire campaign and revealed a whole new front in the war. While the country was still basking in the joy of the green victory, a shock came. In early July 2025, just 2 weeks after the 5 million tree planting campaign, a group of former military officials claimed that the campaign was actually a cover for the recruitment of paramilitary militias under the name of the ecological community. Information leaked from a confidential report claimed that during the campaign, thousands of young people were trained in community coordination skills. But in reality, it was elementary training in logistics, part of Traoré's People's Defense Strategy. Several international media organizations began to repeat the accusation that Burkina Faso was weaponizing the environment for the purpose of population control and the establishment of absolute power. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, Western embassies in Ouagadougou immediately issued warnings to their citizens to be vigilant and reduce technical exchanges with the Ministry of the Environment. Some green aid, already very small, was also frozen indefinitely. At home, the opposition took the opportunity to strike back. One conservative MP declared, "Behind the pickaxe and the shovel is an attempt to centralize power. Behind the tree is a political flag." People were initially confused. National television was criticized for overly rosy coverage, and some local radio stations were suspended for false reporting on tree planting numbers. The media war began. If you plant trees for your hometown but are accused of treason, how would you react? Under pressure from both inside and outside, President Traoré remained silent for a week. No speeches, no press conferences. The whole country held its breath, but then, on the 8th day, he appeared in a remote village in the Kaya region, not to talk politics, but to plant another baobab tree next to a newly built classroom. He did not answer the press, but the action quickly went viral on social media with the hashtag #DuckTheTree is the answer. After that, the president's office released an official document listing all the community training programs, emphasizing there is no military training involved in the tree planting campaign. At the same time, Traoré allowed independent international organizations to monitor the tree planting sites. This move temporarily calmed the wave of criticism, but more important was the reaction of the people. Instead of protesting in the streets, they continued to plant trees. Many villages immediately organized independent tree hours, where children and women took the initiative to plant more trees around schools and wells. An old woman in Yaga province said, "They can question the intention, but they can't deny the result. The trees still grow." For most people, the simple act of planting trees transcends politics. They don't need anyone's approval to do the right thing. They don't plant trees for the government. They plant trees for their children. In a world where fake news is rampant, people's choice to act rather than argue has become a form of silent protest, and a reminder that great things are often questioned until they take root deep enough to be impossible to uproot. If silence is a form of response and the tree is the ultimate proof, what will you tell your children in 10 years about this moment? And now that everything is clear, people are faced with a big question: what to do next so that the campaign is not just a memory, but a sustainable ecosystem? When God created us from the dust of the earth, He did not give us weapons or gold. He gave us the responsibility of tending the Garden of Eden. So when the people of Burkina Faso dig holes, plant seeds, water them, they are not just doing environmental work. They are reliving a primordial commitment between people and the earth, a sacred covenant that we have long forgotten. IBRAHIM Traoré is not a savior, and the 5 million trees campaign is not magic. But it is proof that if you believe in your people, if you start from the ground under your feet, you can change a barren landscape, not with guns but with the roots of trees. Education is not just in the classroom. Faith is not just in the church. It is where you sow something good, however small. Because one day those silent seeds will shade the next generation. If you could choose to plant a tree today, where would you plant it? For whom? And for what? Write your answer in the comments below. It doesn't have to be right or wrong, just as honest as the ground you stand on.
This youth, Ibrahim Traoré, him make a move where most Africans never make, and that is to nationalize the gold and all of the mineral resources in our country to help the country itself. And since him come in, it's about 19 times them try kill him. You hear me say? Them try kill him about 19 times now. Coup on top of even the whole, the last one I hear about is the one where them say some Cote d'Ivoire man involved with it. You know, that is the Ivory Coast. Them say him involved in it, and then them send man. The French, them send spy in our country, and I don't know how him find out about them, but it seems to be a mafia dab, bob and weave, and I move left and right, so as not to make these people do them like what them do. Gaddafi. This is the cutting edge. And next Wednesday night, warm and cool at the same time, I tell you. Don't stop falling every day. Time to tell you that, but that's true. Every day rainfall. I'm a man, I'm man. What do? Things are go fast, don't it? Yeah, man. When they come back quick, and you have to get some money quick to do certain things that you never do. From the other day, I did want to do it quick. Yeah, man. Time now wait. Yes, so we're there with you. So, you know, from last year, well, not from early last year, we are talking about this revolution we are going on in Africa there. Mali, Niger, well, Senegal involved now. And now we have this youth will come up now, will become like the vanguard, the epitome of what a revolution supposed to take place in Africa, supposed to be. Now, even though this youth take over the country with a coup, and we know, say, Africa not really used to democracy. Them not used to that. For you know, upright, them just decide, so them all just go in there and move you. Them not wait for no election. Well, this youth take over the country with a coup. Well, it seems as if he might do something where a whole heap of one who come with them coup never do. And that is to transform Burkina Faso into a real place. And when I say a real place, I mean a real place. To the point now where him run out the French just like all the Mali people them and the Niger people them, they run out the French them. And now it started to spread all over Africa because the new president of Namibia, which is a woman, I say American must get visa for coming to our country because when she want to go somewhere, we have to get visa for going up for them country. And it started to spread. This youth Ibrahim Traoré, him make a move where most Africans never make. And that is to nationalize the gold and all of the mineral resources in our country to help the country itself. And since him come in, It's about 19 times them try kill him. You hear me say? Them try kill him about 19 times now. Coup on top of even the whole, I hear, the last one I hear about is the one where them say some Cote d'Ivoire man involved with it. You know, that is the Ivory Coast. Them say him involved in it, and then them send man. The French, them send spy in our country, and I don't know how I'm find out about them, but it seems to be a mafia dab, bob and weave, and I move left and right, so as not to make these people do them like what them do. Gaddafi and others like him, Lumumba, them kill off a whole heap of the progressive leaders in Africa. And then now we have to really just sing them praises. Well, he has done a lot already. Yeah, him is the youngest president in Africa. And he has done so much that I did them have a rally against France and America. So they must leave Traoré alone. And I tell you what, in France, thousands of people are rallying against the French government. So they must leave him, make him do what he do. Because Africa really needs a transformation, especially in this time. Yeah. So you know, after the next break, we are going to play a clip about how them try to get rid of him. How them try to get rid of him and him overcome that. How them send spy and all sort of people to kill him and get rid of him, but him overcome it. So, yeah, so we are telling about Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, who is creating waves, not only in Africa, but all over the place. Because him come totally different. And for the short space of time when him there, you know, it's one of the only countries right now we don't own no debt. Yeah, man, him use the gold in him country and pay off all him debt them and realize the French, where they did there, where they'll dig out the gold and the other mineral them, where them get out tight and where the French them get out tight is unbelievable. And him decide say no, it can't work that way there. Oh, no forget, like them I get most about 80% and the country I get 20%. Him say none of that. So them try all the while to have a coup against him. I think them says about 19 to 20 times since him there. Them try coup him, but it never work. So we want to play this clip here. I tell about the coup where them try against him. I mean, I thought a long time neither, you know, I thought just the other day.
In the dead silence of April 16th, 2025, a storm was supposed to strike, not of nature, but of men. A coup d'etat planned in whispers, fueled by vengeance, desperation, and foreign gold. Its target? The military leader who defied the world order, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. For months, they plotted in the dark. The plan was clear: overthrow Traoré, seize Kossiam Palace, silence the revolution, and restore a system long buried. But at the heart of this story lies betrayal. Names that once swore loyalty to the flag are now stained by betrayal. This is the true story of 4 men, not just soldiers, but symbols of betrayal. Men who once swore to defend their nation, now accused of nearly breaking it. Major Kori, Lieutenant Abdou Bari, Colonel Diallo Kader, and Captain René Ouedraogo. They were the architects of a secret war. But let us unfold how a band of conspirators schemed in the shadows, how loyalists uncovered their plan, and how a coming coup fell apart before it could drag the country into violence. Welcome to the world of research. Welcome to the large family of WIN, Wisdom in Narrations. It began months earlier, in hushed meetings and covert exchanges far from prying eyes. Major Corey, a disillusioned senior officer, emerged as the mastermind of the plot. He quietly reached out to like-minded soldiers and exiles, convinced that Captain Ibrahim Traoré's junta had betrayed the country's interests. By early 2025, Corey had recruited a small circle of co-conspirators, each with a specific job in the secret plan. Lieutenant Abdou Barry, exiled across the border, Barry became the plot's spokesman-in-waiting. Known for his powerful speeches, he recorded speeches and rallying cries on video and audio, intended to be broadcast to the nation at the moment of the coup. His messages, dripping with revolutionary zeal, promised to restore dignity and order after removing Traoré from power. Some of these recordings were covertly circulated on the dark web and encrypted messaging apps, hinting at a coming upheaval without revealing details. Captain René Ouedraogo, Logistics Chief. An active duty officer, Captain Ouedraogo handled the tough, hands-on work. He secretly moved weapons, ammunition, and vehicles to hidden houses on the outskirts of Ouagadougou, the capital. Late at night, in secret warehouses, he gathered and stored assault rifles and uniforms for the soldiers who would join the coup. Investigators later identified Ouedraogo as a central figure who brought others into the plan. Colonel Diallo Kader, propaganda architect. A retired military information officer, Colonel Kader lent his expertise in psychological operations. He crafted a sophisticated propaganda campaign to legitimize the coup. Polished videos were produced showing armed men declaring the liberation of Burkina Faso and denouncing Traoré's government as puppets of foreign powers. In early April, one such video went viral on social media. A masked officer calling on citizens to reclaim our nation on April 16th. It was quickly taken down by authorities, but not before it sowed confusion and got thousands of views. Kader's aim was clear: to erode public confidence in the junta and prime the population to welcome the coup as a rescue mission. Major Corey, lead planner and liaison. At the helm, Corey coordinated all these moving parts. He communicated with Lieutenant Barry over encrypted channels on the dark web, ensuring the exiled voice stayed in sync with the on-ground reality. He checked which units might be friendly to their cause and planned the attack on the presidential palace. But even more dangerously, Corey reached out to Burkina Faso's worst enemies, the jihadist militants causing chaos in the north. Through secret contacts, he made a risky deal. The extremists would step up their attacks in the countryside as a distraction on the day of the coup, in exchange for future forgiveness or other promised rewards. The plan was to attack the capital at the same time as major terrorist strikes elsewhere. By tying their coup to the jihadists' atrocities, the plotters intended to sow total chaos and overwhelm the government on multiple fronts. These four men and their followers formed a secret group driven by ambition and anger. They saw themselves as the country's saviors, or so they said, but in reality, their plan was a betrayal of the very army and people they claimed to serve. As they refined their plans, they used burner phones, coded language, and face-to-face strategy sessions in safe houses to avoid detection. Encrypted messages flew between the conspirators in early April, laying out final tactics and rendezvous points. The date for their power grab was fixed, April 16, 2025. They called it Operation Dawn in their secret communications, a promise that by dawn of that Wednesday, a new regime would be in charge. Without the conspirators knowing, the government's intelligence services had been watching, quietly and carefully, for weeks. Unit 9, a top intelligence team, became suspicious after noticing more talk on hidden online sites used by extremist supporters. In late March, as Unit 9 analysts went through digital whispers on the dark web, one username caught their eye: Corey Burke, 1984. Posing as militants, the agents engaged this user in an encrypted chat room. What they discovered set off alarm bells. Vague references to a big event in April and mention of friends in the south, possibly code for allies in Côte d'Ivoire, supplying resources. The breakthrough came in early April, when Burkinabe security forces intercepted communications between a high-ranking military officer and terrorist leaders. In that intercepted exchange, a series of encoded satellite phone calls, an army officer was heard giving jihadist fighters detailed information about the deployment of Burkina Faso's troops. He spoke of garrison locations and patrol routes, effectively handing the insurgents a map to exploit weaknesses. This betrayal was intended to escalate terrorist attacks against security forces and civilians to create havoc and stir up a revolt against the authorities. Immediately, officials realized these weren't random leaks. They were part of a coordinated plot. Investigators traced the leak to Major Corey. Now the puzzle pieces began to fall into place. If Corey was sharing troop positions with jihadists, he must be planning something coordinated. Intelligence officers also recalled an alarming incident. A few weeks prior, an anonymous video had spread online calling for soldiers to rise on April 16th. That propaganda clearly showed Colonel Diallo Kader's style. Could it be that disparate signs, the video, the leaked information, and the rumors of soldiers talking about rebelling in the barracks were all connected? By April 10th, Unit 9 was convinced a coup was about to happen. The government of Captain IBRAHIM Traoré moved with urgent secrecy. Traoré, only 34 and himself risen to power via a coup in 2022, had been through multiple scares of destabilization. He called a midnight meeting with his top security advisors at the presidential lodge. There, the head of Unit 9 laid out the evidence: intercepts, informant tips, and surveillance reports mapping out the conspirators' network. On a board, they marked the key names: Major Corey, Colonel Kader, Captain Ouedraogo, and a mysterious Lieutenant Barry believed to be operating from abroad. Traoré's face grew stony. To think that current and former soldiers under his command were working with terrorists to bring down the government was a clear reminder of how broken loyalties had become. The president gave a single directive: stop the plot at all costs before April 16th. Unit 9 and special military units dubbed Groupe d'Intervention mobilized a plan of their own, an early move to shut down the coup before it started. They codenamed it Operation Nightfall. Its execution date, April 15th, 2025, the eve of the planned uprising. As dusk fell on April 15th, most of Ouagadougou was unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. But in government safe houses and barracks, loyal soldiers put on tactical gear and checked their weapons. In complete secrecy, several teams spread out across the city, working together to arrest the plotters all at once. Shortly after 11 p.m., the first strike came. A convoy of plain military trucks surrounded an ordinary-looking warehouse on the eastern edge of the capital. This was one of Captain Ouedraogo's arms depots, identified through days of surveillance. When the security forces broke through the metal doors, they found a pile of evidence: crates of AK-47 rifles, grenades, radios, and stacks of camouflage fatigues with no unit insignias, the tools of a planned assault. Gathered around maps and satellite photos in a corner were 3 junior officers loyal to the plot, shocked by the sudden raid. They surrendered without a fight. More importantly, among the papers seized was a hand-drawn plan of the presidential palace and a timetable, proof that the conspirators aimed to swarm the presidency in the early hours of April 16th. Meanwhile, another team moved in on a private villa in the Ouaga 2000 district, an upscale neighborhood. Here, Colonel Diallo Kader was caught off guard, reportedly in the middle of uploading one of his pre-recorded coup proclamations to a burner phone. Kader's arrest was quick. Commandos held down the 62-year-old colonel as he shouted that he was saving the country. Seized alongside him were laptops filled with coup manifestos and propaganda videos, including the originals of those that had been leaked online. Across town, Major Corey met a harsher fate. Acting on a tip, an assault team intercepted Corey's convoy as he attempted to flee an unsafe safe house. Cornered on a dimly lit street, Corey's guards exchanged fire with loyalist forces. In the brief firefight, Corey was wounded and one of his men killed. Within minutes, the mastermind of the coup was in custody, injured but alive and still refusing to back down. Major Corey's capture decapitated the plot's leadership, effectively foiling the coup's brain trust just hours before 0 hour. One key target, however, slipped away. Captain René Ouedraogo, the logistics chief, had been expected at the warehouse meeting, but he sensed trouble when communications went dark. Instead of rushing in, he melted into the night before Unit 9 could close the net. By the time soldiers reached Ouedraogo's residence, he was gone. In the chaos of the crackdown, Ouedraogo managed to flee, turning him into the most wanted man in Burkina Faso. As of the latest reports, he is currently on the run, according to Minister Sana. Back at the presidential compound, Captain Traoré monitored the operations in real time via radio. When the all-clear finally sounded in the pre-dawn hours of April 16th, it was official. The coup had been stopped before it even started. Dozens of plotters and their accomplices were arrested in the sweep, including active duty officers and some retired soldiers. Shockingly, several well-known officers were among those detained, such as Commander Frederic Ouedraogo, a former battalion commander, and Captain Élisée Tassembedo, head of a northern security unit, both picked up for questioning in the preceding days. The breadth of the conspiracy was coming into focus, and it was larger than initially thought. Dawn on April 16, 2025, arrived in Ouagadougou with quiet, normal life. The sun rose over calm streets, small motorbikes buzzed by, and markets opened like any other day. Most Burkinabé had no idea that if a plan hadn't been stopped, this morning could have exploded into gunfire. The coup that wasn't left few visible marks. No tanks, no sirens, no gunshots. But subtle signs were there. Extra guards at the palace. A heavier military presence at key sites. Curious citizens whispered, but the government stayed silent, preferring calm until all threats were neutralized. For the conspirators, this morning was meant to be their triumph, an assault on the presidency, the arrest of Traoré, and a new regime announced before sunrise. Simultaneous terrorist strikes were to spread confusion across the country. Instead, Major Corey sat in custody, Colonel Kader was arrested, Lieutenant Barry was stranded in exile, Captain Ouedraogo had vanished, their plan had collapsed. That evening, President Traoré appeared on national television. Dressed in fatigues, serious face, he confirmed what many had begun to suspect. A coup attempt had been dismantled. "You slept in peace last night," he said, "under the shadow of a grave threat. Thanks to the vigilance of our security forces, our nation stands strong." Without naming names, he condemned those in league with foreign collaborators who had tried to seize power. "We will hunt down every last traitor," he vowed. "We will be merciless in our defense of the nation." He warned that the enemies of Burkina Faso, though stateless, remained active, a pointed message to those suspected of backing the coup from abroad. Traoré closed with a call for unity, urging Burkinabé to stay focused on the fight against jihadist insurgents. The camera lingered on him as he saluted, then the screen faded to black. In homes and barracks across the country, people absorbed the shock. Relief that the coup had failed. Anger that some among them had plotted with extremists. Traoré's calm, firm leadership earned praise. But questions still hung in the air. Who else was involved? How deep did the betrayal go? And was the danger truly over? In the days after the April 16th coup attempt, Burkina Faso's military government methodically disclosed how far the conspiracy reached. On April 21st, Security Minister Mahamadou Sana held a nationally televised press briefing that wove together statements, intelligence leaks, and official findings into a single, detailed account. He began by declaring that authorities had dismantled a major plot designed to overthrow the presidency and sow total chaos across the country. Sana explained that the coup was to unfold in two synchronized strikes. First, dissident soldiers, recruited and guided by both serving and former officers, would storm the presidential palace. Second, at that very moment, jihadist militants would launch coordinated attacks in multiple provinces, drawing government forces away from the capital. According to Sana, the main people behind the coup hadn't even stayed inside Burkina Faso's borders. They were operating from exile in Côte d'Ivoire. He named two of the most notorious figures by rank and alias, Commander Joanny Compaoré and Lieutenant Abdramane Abdou Bari, both described as army deserters who had fled to Abidjan and become the plot's chief propagandists. Investigators attributed the government's early warning to intercepted messages exchanged between a Burkinabe officer and terrorist commanders. Those communications, once decrypted, detailed patrol schedules and target coordinates, allowing security services to stop both the palace attack and the insurgents' distraction attacks. Sana emphasized the dramatic scope of the conspiracy, the willingness of its architects to let Burkina Faso burn if that chaos enabled their power grab. But the plotters' ambitions went beyond a simple coup. Sana explained that they had tried to win over religious and traditional leaders, asking them to use their influence to convince soldiers and civilians to join them. Signed documents found in the conspirators' safe house revealed a shocking plan to set up a new government that would ask for help from foreign powers, basically putting parts of Burkina Faso under outside control. In Sana's words, this would have meant giving away parts of the country's independence in exchange for protection from outsiders, something he called the ultimate betrayal of the nation. Over the week following April 16th, security forces rounded up dozens of implicated officers across the country. Some apprehended at military posts, others intercepted at border crossings. Courts-martial loomed for those detained, though Sana withheld details on any civilian collaborators. The trouble shook trust inside the army. Fired commanders and their suspected allies were looked at with suspicion, and President IBRAHIM Traoré quickly changed key leadership positions to close any security gaps. On the diplomatic front, Sana's naming of Côte d'Ivoire as the plot's hiding place sparked a serious argument between Ouagadougou and Abidjan. Accusations that Ivory Coast sheltered the coup's leaders reopened old wounds from a similar dispute in September 2024 and threatened to cause a full-blown diplomatic crisis. Abidjan denied any involvement, but regional analysts warned that this tense situation could break apart West African cooperation at a time when unity was badly needed against jihadist threats. Indeed, jihadist fighters were still a constant threat. By 2025, around 40% of Burkina Faso was under some level of militant control. As the army worked to crush what was left of the coup, extremist groups looked for weak spots, launching surprise attacks in the north that tested Burkina Faso's worn-down forces. Sana described the coup's failure as a double win. It not only stopped a violent takeover, but also helped protect the fragile fight against terrorism. In his final words, he stressed that by stopping the plot, the government had avoided both a foreign-backed regime change and a possible collapse in the battle against jihadists. In the end, the attempted coup clearly showed the connected dangers facing Burkina Faso, from anger and betrayal inside the country to outside groups helping plots and the non-stop attacks from insurgents. The quick and public way the plot was stopped showed the government's determination, but it also revealed serious weaknesses inside the army, with neighboring countries, and in the unstable areas where jihadists hide. As the dust settled, Burkina Faso's leaders faced the tough job of rebuilding trust at home and bringing people together against threats both known and hidden.
And you hear, this just happened last month, you know. Last month this happened. Traoré is in some serious problems, you know. Because we know what these guys do and intend to do when a man rise up and defy them power. Remember Gaddafi, Sankore, Lumumba. I mean, so much rise up. This youth, yeah, they might do some things but no other one has ever done. Yes. When them decide say I'm going to use the gold and pay off the country debt, it was a shock to the outside world, especially France. Especially France. And now we see my bill, him a pave a whole heap of road we never pave yet. I feel beautiful airport. And him not take no pay. Him not have no limousine. Him not have no private jet. Him not take no pay. And him a drive on the back of the van them with the soldier them said we serious youth. And now we say him actions are spread. Yeah man, somebody just want to light the fire and then now you see everything catch, all of the wood them catch, you know, and then it spark all over the place. And that is what happening in Africa right now.
Why some people say
yes, that is what is happening in Africa. A whole heap of people still at youth.
We'll get
and say, but wait, this will look for a long time, man. And this are the spark where they are weird pan. So we hope it continue. We hope it continue because I have old man. And I talk about, that youth is about 30 years old. We have old man who are come from them country. We are 60 years old. And them just get connected now because of the inspiration of this youth. Yeah, them start to look on things different. So we will see how far it will go, but we have to make the world know say we, well, not about we know. I can't talk about Jamaica, I talk about Rasta. Rasta support the youth there. Yeah, Rastafari, Bridging and Citrine support the youth there. And hope them continue do what I do. And Baba weave round the French and the American colonialists and neo-colonialists them who try rape Africa continuously. Rape Africa continuously. Suck the blood of the African nation and then claim say we is barbarians and savage. When really and truly is them, is it? Because we not take out no people out of them country and carry them going to go enslave them. Africans don't take people out of don't go in another man's country and take it out and come enslave them. You know, see it? So, yeah man, Traoré is a man where we have to look upon and watch. Yeah, we have to look upon him and watch him do. See him move with, look like him want to join the what them call it, the Russian, Chinese, India, South Africa, Brazil, the group there where rise up, you know. Look like him try look a foot into that organization. Yes, him look a foot into it. So I could see where I got with that. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That organization is the alternative to the, what them call the United Nations. You ever hear about Thomas Sankara? If you know about them man there, you know, you see him, this brother Traoré is influenced by Thomas Sankara, who was part of Burkina Faso, who them also killed. Them kill him. Yeah. He was once the president of Burkina. And them kill him. Assassination. This virgin take after him. He might try fulfill what Thomas start. That time them call the country Upper Volta. During Thomas Sankara time, them call it Upper Volta. Well, them give back the Burkina Faso name. I know we have this virgin here.
Faso court has charged former exiled President Blaise Compaoré in absentia in connection to the murder of President Thomas Sankara in 1987 in a coup led by Compaoré. The case was sent to the military tribunal in the capital, Ouagadougou, after the charges against Compaoré and the other main alleged perpetrators were confirmed 34 years after the death of Sankara, popularly referred as Africa's Che Guevara.
Former Burkina Faso President Blaise Compaoré and 13 others are being charged with harming state security, complicity in murder and complicity in the concealment of corpses. This comes as Blaise, who is in exile, has also been linked to the murder of Thomas Sankara. Sankara, a Marxist revolutionary popularly referred to as Africa's Che Guevara, was assassinated during a coup in 1987. Among the accused is General Gilbert Diendéré, Compaoré's former right-hand man and a former head of the elite unit, the presidential security regime at the time of the coup. Diendéré is currently serving a 20-year sentence in Burkina Faso for masterminding a coup in 2015 against the West African country's transitional government. The arrest warrant was issued against Compaoré in March 2016. He ruled Burkina Faso for 27 years before being ousted in a 2014 uprising and fleeing to Ivory Coast, where he is believed to have taken up citizenship.